Hi, this is Miss Linton. Say hello.
Hi.
This is Chapter 31 review. Keep in mind there's not a lot in 31 review that you really have to know. The big key thing that you need to know is really revolving around homeostasis, which comes towards the end of the chapter. As far as your quiz goes for tomorrow, I will maybe have one question on homeostasis, and the remaining 4 questions will be on Chapter 32. Did we already do that review?
Yes.
Yes, we did that review last week, so I encourage you to watch it. On this chapter, it does talk about the 4 tissues. Keep in mind, only 4 tissues are going to make up all of our systems. Only 4 tissues. Of all of those tissues, probably the most obvious ones are epithelial, because that's going to be about coverings, right? That makes sense to you. Anything that covers is an epithelial tissue. Nervous tissue, think about neurons and then groupings of neurons into nerves and then your nervous system. We're going to talk all about, that's a whole system we will discuss. Muscle tissue, there are 3 types of muscular tissue. There's cardiovascular, which is your heart, skeletal, which is on your bones, and smooth, which is internal organs, right? So those are really obvious. Epithelial covering, really obvious. Connective tissue is a catch-all. The sooner you get that one, probably the best that's going to help you. Connective tissue is cells separated by a matrix. That matrix could be hard, like what? Wood. Hi. Bone. What's wrong with you? Bone. A little more flexible than bone would be what? Cartilage. Good. What's a real fluid connective tissue? Blood. Fat's also in there. Lymph tissue is also in there. Reticular tissue. So a lot of times people miss that one because some of the ones we need to know are going to fall within that. So that's cells separated by a matrix. That matrix could be hard like bone or it could be fluid like blood. Okay, that's connective tissue. It's kind of the catch-all. If you're not one of the 3 muscles, if you're not nervous tissue, and if you're not aligning, then you're connective tissue. And every organ in your body is made up of one of these 4 tissues. One part that you do want to know are cell-to-cell junctions. And cell-to-cell junctions, it can be tight junctions, like these are shared proteins. And I think, did I already teach you this? Yeah, shared protein stuff. It's a real tight stitch, one protein to another. We also talked about adhesion junctions for strength. And this is when part of your cytoskeleton is shared between one cell and another cell to kind of keep it together. And then the last one is gap junctions, somewhere in here, gap junctions. And this is when you're sharing 2 channel proteins. This is really helpful when you want something to move quickly from one cell to another cell. And it doesn't have to go and get released or secreted from a cell, be in the space between the cells, and then get picked up again. It's going directly cell to cell, similar to plasmodesmata in plants. Yes? Okay. Next, I would think about the reason why this might become important is because we do talk about cancer, and we talk about how it can gain the ability to get and metastasize and spread to other tissues, right? And so one of the things it has to get through is your basement membrane. So you have delineations between 2 different tissues. And when a cell has the ability to cross that line, then it can spread to those other tissues. So that might become important. Another thing that would become important that relates to other things we talk about is when you refer to anything about diffusion, going from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Or osmosis, the movement of water across a semi-permeable membrane. When you study the way our circulatory system works, the way our kidneys work, our respiratory system, our endocrine system works, something's got to go from one location to another, from where it's stored to where it's going to be a signal and where it's going to be received. When you have very thin, simple squamous, simple means one layer, squamish, I think squashed. So it's one layer and it's a very flat cell that's going to allow for that diffusion. In my mind, I think endothelium, right? The lining of your blood vessels or in your capillaries, and so that allows for fluids to go across it. There are simple squamous, there's stratified squamous, those would be multiple layers of flat cells. When you have multiple layers of flat cells, That's like your skin, right? Because I can go like this, and literally hundreds and hundreds and thousands of cells are going to the ground right now from my skin. Most of the dust in your house is some of your skin epidermal tissues just fluffing off, right? So there are different shapes. There's simple squamous. Cuboidal is another shape, but it has a cube shape. Simple means it's one layer. Columnar. Pseudostratified columnar is because when you have really long columnar cells like this, they can kind of overlap one another, so they look like they're stratified, but they're not. You can have ciliated columnar. You can have stratified squamous. And these are all just kind of pictures of where you might see cuboidal in your kidneys. Simple columnar found in your intestines. What are your intestines trying to do? Absorb nutrients. Good. Digest and absorb nutrients. Stratified squamous in your mouth, nose, esophagus. Pseudostratified ciliated columnar. There's cilia right at the top of these. And those cilia, I think I told some classes, how long are they paralyzed?
20 minutes.
20 minutes after you stop smoking, right? So if you, let's say you take 10 minutes to smoke your cigarette, it's still going to be another 20 minutes once you're done, just in case you're wondering. Okay, good. Now, this part we do need to know because we're going to be talking about the endocrine system, glands and hormones, right? So an endocrine gland is a gland that capillaries pass through, and so that hormone is put into the blood. Endocrine. Exocrine gland is like your salivary gland. It's excreting into your tube, your digestive tube, or on the surface of your skin, and so it's going outside of your body. Technically, your digestive tube is literally outside of your body, right? Because it's a tube within a tube, and you're just throwing stuff into it. Okay? So you have some glands like your pancreas, which is both an exocrine and an endocrine gland. It's an endocrine gland with insulin and glucagon and blood sugar regulation. It's an exocrine gland with lipase, something that's used to digest fats that's put into your digestive system. So you can be both types of glands. So that one we will discuss, and also this is coming usually related to epithelial tissue. Okay, moving on to connective tissue. Key thing there are cells in a matrix. And for that one, elastin, collagen, you can go get those put into your body if you want to. Reticular, this is the tissue that's in the lymph nodes, is reticular tissue, and that's a type of connective tissue, and that's a system you need to know is the immune system. So that's why I say all these kind of things overlap usually into your other systems. Loose fibrous connective tissue, if you like sliced your hand and looked inside, probably be some loose fibrous connective tissue. It's like, what is all that? I don't know, but I'm bleeding. That's loose. Dense would be like tendons and ligaments. Tendons do what? Do you know what tendons do? Muscle to bone. What do ligaments do? Bone to bone. Good. Awesome. Okay. Here's some different tissue. Yay. There's some, what am I showing you in this picture? Yeah. Here's some tendons connecting muscle to bone, and ligament is bone to bone. Here are some fat cells. Aren't they pretty? Yeah. Those insulate you and keep you warm. A little something, something. Okay. Here's some other fat cells. Here's some cartilage, cells separated by a matrix. Here's some other cartilage. Compact bone and spongy bone. Do you know which one's stronger? Spongy. Yeah. Spongy because it can take the impact, whereas compact bone, it can snap. And you find compact bone at the ends of long bones and along the shaft of long bones. You have compact bone. She said shaft. And then, keep in mind, 30 years, 14 and 15-year-old boys. It's not young. And 16. Osteons. Did I remember to hit record? I did. Come back to me. Osteons are found in compact bone. These are in concentric circles. And so right in the middle of it, in the central canal, you have what's called a haversian canal, which feeds your compact bone. And then these things that look like dead ants out here, okay, those are little bone cells, little osteocytes. And think about it. If you are a bone cell, I'm a bone cell, and I'm surrounded by hard mineral and salts, how am I going to get nutrients? How am I going to get oxygen? How am I going to get rid of carbon dioxide and waste if I'm surrounded by salts? Hard, compact salts. Any ideas? Tiny little canals called caniculi bring nutrients from the central canal out to these bone cells. And if something disrupts that caniculi and it gets blocked up, then you're not going to get any more oxygen and nutrients, and you're not going to get rid of waste, and what's going to happen to that cell? Die. This is, I've fallen and I can't get up. If you break a hip when you're older, right, that can be really a big problem because all your caniculi are so old and clogged up that it's hard to get, life back to those bone cells. You have things called osteoblasts and osteoclasts, which are about building bone and breaking down bone in a regular bone remodeling cycle. And if that gets interrupted when you're older, that can be a real problem. Oh, they're right here. I really cannot find mine. It's very sad. Okay? And last but not least, here are your blood cells. What do you see in that picture? I see red blood cells. What else do you see? White blood cells. Good. Okay? You should be able to talk about any of those cells. Is he singing? Is he listening on his earphones? Because he was kind of dancing just a second ago. Oh, look at him. Okay. Sorry. All right. So here we can see our red blood cells. We can see what are the platelets for. This is a little review for your
blood clotting.
Blood clotting. What else do you see? Do you see white blood cells? Do you see lymphocytes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And blood.
What is site? She said lymphocyte. This is showing you the components of blood. You understand all of that, right? You understand this? Lymph?
Yes.
That was a review from before. Remember we learned about this? That was super fun. All right, muscle. Do you know who that is? Yeah, Beckham. All right. He doesn't quite have all the tattoos on there, but I'm not trying to objectify him, but what muscle are you seeing there? Well, that would just be here, but what muscle are you seeing there? Skeletal muscle. 3 types of muscle, right? Now, when you look at skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle, you want to look for similarities and differences. And this is one of those things in biology where you want to address structure and function, how it works. So when you differentiate between them, skeletal muscle is multinucleated. Cardiac muscle has these really cool things called intercalated discs. Where are they? Here. Intercalated discs that help. Remember I talked to you about how your cardiac muscle all beats together? We talked about that? Okay, so that helps with that. Smooth muscle has delineated ends. Skeletal muscle is striped. So is cardiac muscle. But you can see right here, this is your skeletal muscle where it's striped. This one has a little bit of space in it, an intercalated disc, and these have tapering ends. So under a microscope, you can differentiate between those 3 types of muscles. It's not really hard. Sure. There's some more pictures.
Yes.
I have a bunch of those. I'll come back to them at the end, okay? We have, this is your introduction. This is why I have you do this chapter. So you have the big picture as we go into the systems. That's the purpose of this chapter if you don't make it busy work. So this would give you your introduction to a neuron. And a neuron is a nerve cell. And when you look at a nerve cell, it has different regions. The dendrites receive information. Okay, that's like when you think of receptors. They receive the information. If the dendrites are surrounding the cell body, that means the cell body is going to be like adding up the yeses and the nos before it makes a decision ultimately to send a excitatory or inhibitory message. If your cell body is not here, like if your cell body comes out over here, then that means it doesn't really have any input in the decision. It's not at all. The cell body is not performing any function of adding up all the information. Hey, look, pizza. And then an axon takes the message away, okay, after it's been processed. And a synapse is a junction. If it just says synapse, it's usually between 2 neurons. And that space within the neuron is the actual synapse. So you have a message, a chemical message that gets released. You have receptors on the neighboring neuron, and it's either a yes or a no, fire or don't. And it usually has to do with opening up protein channels. These are ligand gated. Do you remember reading about ligand gated before? Okay, that open up to allow sodium to come in if you want it to be an excitatory message. It could also be a neuromuscular junction. What does that mean? Neuromuscular. A junction between a neuron and a muscle, hence neuromuscular. Okay. All right. So we're going to spend some time talking about the neurons in the nervous system, but this is your introduction to it. Now, you have more support cells in your brain than you actually have neurons in your brain. More cells that are running around supporting the nervous system cells. Some, like astrocytes, are about feeding. They're providing nutrients to the neurons. Some are like house cleaners that are going around and cleaning up the debris that might be around the brain. So we will learn about that once we discuss the nervous system. Then the human systems. So atom, molecule, organelle, what? Cell, tissue. So the whole first part of this chapter is about the 4 different tissues. These 4 different tissues build organs. These organs build organ systems. So here we are. And then organisms. So we started off by me having you do chapter 31, but then we discussed chapter 32, the circulatory system. Then we went into your immune system. But this was the setup for that. You just want to be familiar with what system does what job. That regardless if we study it or not, you should know if that's one of our mandatory systems. You want to use that as support material. And they have really good pictures in your book where they kind of just do little summaries under each one. Some of them have pictures where there are 2 people. Why do they have 2 people in the picture instead of just 1? Differences between what and what? Male and female. Yeah. So then you might, yeah. So you can review each of those systems so you feel comfortable with them. Let's play Name That System. Ready?
Okay.
What system is this? Digestive. What's this one? Yeah. What's this one? Yes. What's this one? I drew a swimsuit on her. It was a little risque, so I gave her a swimsuit. What one is this one? Lymphatic. Good. This one's digestive. What are you talking about? What's this one? Respiratory. What's this one? Not digestive. Excretory. Yeah. Now, technically, when you talk about excretory system, you can say the urinary system, which is your kidneys, but part of the excretory system is also, I'm getting rid of metabolic waste called carbon dioxide. Sweating, okay, would be part of your excretory system. Anything where you're ridding your body of things. Okay, what's this one? Nervous. What's this one? Musculoskeletal. What's this one?
Reproductive.
Again with the swimsuits. I gave him a thong, I'm sorry. And there we go. All right. So tell me, several systems work together to maintain your body shape. What's that? Is that it? Dang it. There we go. Let's go. Excrete waste. Okay, now, I should have said excretory, but you wouldn't say digestive, right? Okay. So digestive is, you're using, that's egestion, where you're getting rid of anything that you could not absorb, basically, or digest. Produce offspring?
Reproductive.
All right. Coordinate body activities. What's primary?
Nervous.
Secondary? Endocrine. Okay. Nervous, endocrine. Which one's faster? Nervous. Which one has longer lasting impact? Impact. Somewhere like that. I don't know. Effects. Longer lasting effects. Endocrine. Protect body from disease. Exchange gases. Acquire materials and energy. Digestive. But skeletal and muscular, why? Got to go get it, right? Transport materials. Circulatory. Okay, good. All right. Next. Your body is broken up into regions that are encased. You can see your cranial cavity, your thoracic cavity, heart, and lungs. And your ventral cavity is all of the thoracic and the abdominal cavity. You have a pelvic cavity, so you have different regions in your body. This would be referred to, these different regions, as part of your coelom, right? Tube, right? And then your digestive tube would be the tube that runs through the middle of this, yes? Okay. And then here you can see it from the front, thoracic and abdominal. One huge system that covers your whole body is your skin. Here's some close-up of your skin. Here's, danger. What is this relating to? Cancer, exactly. So look out for strange moles. There's more skin. I just gave, patella. Okay, that, yeah, we'll talk about, yeah, that's good. All right, here's some more skin. Here's some more skin. Apparently I want to do a lot on skin. Homeostasis. Okay, so fill in the blanks for me here. Definition of homeostasis. Starts with an M. Maintenance. Good.
Maintenance of environment.
All right, good job. Now, why? This kind of question they would ask. Yes.
One is ectotherm, one's endotherm.
Right. So one's able to maintain its internal body temperature, and one not. So they're going to have different adaptations in order to do that, right? Like hair, right? Helps maintain fat. Helps maintain your core body temperature. Other things that you would have is you would have animals that direct themselves towards the sun, put their body in a certain position in order to get more heat from the sun. So both will have adaptations to that. Homeotherm, poikilotherm. The person on the left, the blue seat, you are the homeotherm, and Slate, you are the poikilotherm. Go ahead All right. Metabolic rate, inverse relationship between body mass and your metabolic rate. So look at your body mass. Notice this is like a logarithmic scale up here, right? Otherwise, right? So, and then mass. So look at your mass and look at your metabolic rate. So whose heart is going to beat faster, a mouse or an elephant? Mouse. Yeah, the small organism is probably going to have a higher metabolic rate. Okay, next, I want you to keep in mind all organs contribute to homeostasis, primarily nervous, and then right close behind that would be your endocrine system, helping you keep that balance. Negative feedback, that's like setting cruise control at 65, right? You go down a hill, start picking up speed, your brakes come on. Going too slow, it accelerates. It's trying to keep it just right. Most of your body systems are about negative feedback. There are a few situations that are about positive feedback, but most are about negative feedback. So you're just trying to keep it just right. You could have contrasting hormones that do that. Insulin lowers blood sugar, glucagon raises it. Calcitonin, lower from your thyroid gland, lowers blood calcium. Your parathyroid gland raises it. So they have contrasting hormones that could do that as well. I did one on calcium. Okay, that's great. Homeostasis and temperature control is a huge one. Several different organ systems involved in that. What's something you do when you're cold? besides put on a jacket? Shiver, right? Well, how would shiver increase your body temperature? Yeah, you're contracting your muscles, which would generate heat, right? Okay, when you get goose bumps, okay, if we have more hair on our body, though some people have a lot of hair on their body, then what would the goose bump do? It would raise the hair, right? And then by raising that hair, you're increasing the boundary layer of dead air around your body, right? Because this cools you off when you do this, even though it's the same temperature as the room, because it's decreasing your boundary layer, which increases evaporation. Okay, so besides all, so we have different things to help us maintain our body temperature. Here's some more things. Okay. Would you like a cookie?
Yes.
Okay. So no, sorry, no cookies for you. Positive feedback increases the behavior in that one direction. It's not a set point, right? It's raising it. And it's raising it for some climactic event. You have positive feedback just in your normal females hormonal cycle. And in order to trigger the next stage of your menstrual cycle, it will be positive feedback till it hits a tipping point, and it will trigger the next stage, etc. Birth is another point that is always given for Okay. So, and you did this in your pulgal, the head against the cervix. You receive that information. You have receptors at the cervix. When this goes to your brain, you have more oxytocin secreted from your pituitary gland, which makes your uterus contract even more, which pushes again on the cervix, and so it just keeps going and going and going till you reach the climactic event of birth. Yeah. Okay? All right. Game time? All right, then we'll go backwards. Log in as your favorite cookie. You're welcome. I'm going to pause this for a little bit. Okay, here we go. Yay, 100% on that. Good job. Guys, look up here real quick. Diaphragm, thoracic abdominal cavity. Diaphragm separates it. Oral membrane is your lungs, intestines, no. Smooth muscle, this will be hard. The smooth muscle is involuntary and not striated. Skeletal muscle is voluntary and striated. Cardiac muscle is involuntary and striated, and that is it on that. I don't know. Let me see if I have another one for you.
Do any of you have
So, guys, where are you going to focus your efforts tonight? 32. Chapter 32, right? Focus your efforts on 32, and I will see you mañana. Get some sleep. Yes.
I had a question on
And have a piece of toast. All right. Bye.
What is hyaline?
Don't even worry about it.